the WBC Featherweight Championship. And game 4 of this series, 8 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow night, from here in Kansas City. Willie Wilson trying to get aboard, and that would make Brett the tying run at the plate. Bottom of the 6th, 5-3 Toronto.
Dave Stieb threw before the ball game lightly and was to inform manager Bobby Cox and Al Widmer, the pitching coach, whether he could come back with 3 days rest. Leibrandt he only threw 48 pitches. Stieb not quite sure yet. When Alexander was struggling, Bob, early in the season, giving up a lot of home runs, getting behind, he went to a lot of knuckleballs. He used to throw 25 to 30 a game. Widmer said, trust your fastball.
Another base hit for Willie Wilson.
That should get the Toronto bullpen up again. It was up last inning also. He just can't seem to get anything downstairs, off speed or not. Doyle kind of flinched. It was hit fairly hard by Wilson, but he kind of got tied up like he didn't pick the ball up off the bat.
Wilson is now 2 for 3 on the night, a pair of singles with a ground out in between, and his 6 hits are the most by anyone on either team. Brett has 5 hits, 3 of them for extra bases. A homer and a double tonight, and the double missed being a home run by about a foot.
Alexander's clinching ball game, a strong performance against the Yankees last Saturday. Only one left-handed hitter. There were a bunch in the lineup against him. Pulled the ball in the air to right field. He just kept running that fastball away.
Brett walked 103 times this year, but not because he was looking for walks. He is not necessarily the world's most patient hitter. As he puts it, if I see a pitch, I just go and hack. But they pitched around him to such an extent this year, 31 of the walks being intentional, and that tied Ted Williams' American League record. He often had no choice but to leave the bat on his shoulder. Alexander has to come to him in this situation. Wilson at first, nobody out. Well hit to left center. Back goes Mosby, along with Bell. Forget it! Home run, Brett! Second now, he'll be coming out for the curtain call, and there he is. In 1978, Brett hit 3 homers in a league championship series game at Yankee Stadium on Catfish Hunter. About a foot separates him from 3 home runs in this game. The game is tied at 5. And a fair ball off McRae's bat. Possible extra bases. Barfield with a great arm. But McRae is in with a double.
Going to stall for a little bit of time. George Brett has hit a changeup off Alexander for a home run to right field in the first. A little slider for a double off the wall to right center field. And he just took a high fastball to left center, 2-run home run tied up. And watch this reaction from George Brett.
The booing you hear is for Bobby Cox, and you'll see him as we come back live. He's coming out to the mound. 2 home runs and a double for George Brett. And I don't think there's much doubt. Reggie Jackson included, especially if you consider postseason play altogether and don't confine it to World Series competition. George Brett certainly has no superior and may have no equal as a showcase player in all of baseball. In effect, George Brett has said to his teammates, "Come on, boys, hop on my back. I'll carry you." And Willie Wilson happily accepts the ride.
He has developed tremendous power the opposite way, which he just demonstrated. Flynn really wasn't blown at all to help that dog. Paul Alexander, which was Tommy Quaid, the assistant trainer, Justin Evans, was stuck with that. He had a lead, which he usually holds on to. Now it's Dennis Lapp's turn.
So Saberhagen is history. Alexander still could be the pitcher of record on the losing side if McRae scores. Down the right field line and out of play. Strike one to Frank White. But if Lamb gets them out of this inning without further damage, then the game will be in his hands, and for the time being, Steve Farr.
About a half an hour ago, I put my foot in my mouth again. Not unusual to say that Steve doesn't come back too often.
Well, the statistics back it up. They had overcome a 3-run deficit only 4 times all year.
They challenged George Brett.
A highly dubious strategy at any time. Look out, coming in behind. Close but safe.
Lamb pitched in game 2, retired all 11 hitters that he faced. He was 11 wins, no losses during the regular season. He's the man that Bobby Cox says time after time was our most valuable player during the regular season. He's changed roles.
Right center field with this one. Barfield in pursuit. Jesse's got it. McRae will head to third and make it. And he's there with only 1 out.
Nice piece of hitting, Mike. Hal McRae back in the fourth for good credit record. That's the man they say is the soul of this ball club. The man who says, Hal McRae, I learned to play from Pete Rose in Cincinnati, and he has taught a lot of people on this Kansas City Royals ball club how to play, and Frank White just shows you how. Gets the ball the opposite way. Ferraro says stand up. Infield be forced to come in. They played solid baseball today.
Sheridan now with the infield in and almost a run-producing wild pitch. But Wick got the glove up and saved it.
I'll tell you, bats can overcome some mistakes. Monty Smith's air in left field, pretty wet. Saves a run. Dennis Lamb, basically a single ball pitcher, keeps the ball down, and a tough, quick slider.
1-1. Brett has a homer in the first and a game tie here in the sixth, and here's the narrow miss in the fourth. Up over the padding and no more than a couple of feet from going out.
That ball he doesn't fix.
1-1 pitch. Swing and miss 1-2. They have asked me to remind our viewers that again we'll select the NBC Late Beer Familiar Player of the Game at the conclusion of the contest. Gee, I can't think of a candidate, Tony. The 1-2. Back to Lamb. He looks McRae back to third, and there's the second out.
That's how Dennis Lamb makes his living. Ground ball out. Sheridan likes the ball down low in the strike zone, too. Lamb's thinking, well, it's running right. He gets it on low ball hitters out with a low pitch. A low pitch between the knees and the ankle zone. McRae trying to decoy draw a throw.
Steve Balmoni thinking this would be an excellent time to bid goodbye to those postseason blues of his. He's flied out twice in this game. It's 1-2.
Bobby Cox has seen one man lift the Royals back into this ball game. George Brett.
Balboni goes down swinging, but you'll still hear an ovation from these Kansas City fans. They score twice, and they leave a man at third. Folks, you're looking at one of the all-time greats. We'll be right back after these messages from your local station. As we go to the seventh.
Vin's great line last year at the World Series. Vin Scully talking about there's a youngster whose head is trying to grow into his dream. Now, I can't talk like Vin Scully, so I probably goofed that up, right? Was it close?
Close enough.
Okay.
Moving right along. Mullenix, who had a homer in the 5-run Toronto fifth. 0-1 the count to him. It's Steve Farr and Dennis Lamp now.
Toronto have been through games like this, but more especially a pennant race where they had about an 8.5 game lead, saw it go down to 1.5. So they've been used to a lot of adversity and pressure going into the last week of the season. It has not bothered them to this point, and they know they've got bats on the bench. Bobby Cox knows he's got more pitchers in the bullpen. But can they hold down George Brett?
He tipped it, and Sundberg held it. So Mullenix goes down on strikes.
The first baseman, Willie Upshaw.
A fastball that ran away a little bit, and Sundberg holds on. Yogi had the great knack for that. It has become a somber bench, hasn't it? But I'm sure a lot of confidence left. You don't win 99 ball games for the regular season and you see a game like this. They're still in a very good position. Tie ball game 2-0 with the lead. And if it should come to it, game 6 and 7 would be played at Exhibition Stadium, their home park.
And you talk about form in baseball, and in both the National League Series and to a certain extent in this series, form have gone out the window thus far. 1-2 to Willie Upshaw. Coming in tonight, if Dick Hauser were to conjure up some kind of scenario by which he would get back into the series, it would certainly be with Saberhagen pitching a good game. Not winning a slugfest where neither Alexander nor Saberhagen will be involved in the decision.
I don't think Dick Hauser's thoughts as of yet are Saberhagen in his condition. He got cracked pretty good. And will he be available if this thing goes into 6 and 7?
Upshaw pops it up. Balboni over near the tarp. He's got it. And a glum expression for Upshaw, who's now 1 for 4. He had a double back in the 4th.
Designated hitter, Will Johnson.
What do you think George Brett's lifetime league championship series slugging percentage is?
It's got to be high. How high? I don't have the figure in front of me. 650, 700? A wild guess only.
769. And in this series, he's slugging almost 1,300.
What Dick Hauser needs right now is just what Farr is doing. Keep, if there is a thing like momentum in baseball, one pitch we've seen in this game can change the momentum in a hurry from one side to the other with one swing of the bat. That's done that. He wants a good inning, 3 up, 3 down, so they can generate some more offense. And in this tie ball game, George Brett is guarding the line, as is Balboni. We're into the 7th, it's tie, so they're not going to give that double on either corner. Bones is doing the same thing at first base.
And as we move into the late innings, we also have our fingers crossed that the rain will hold off and let this very exciting ball game run its natural course. Breaking ball, they check down at first, and the ruling from Ted Hendry is that Johnson went around. 1-2.
When Farr's got control of that breaking pitch, he's something. And quite a find, while middle relief has been a struggle. Look at where Sundberg's set up. He got it low and away. Cliff Johnson couldn't hold up.
Ted Hendry certainly not at the top of the popularity list if you were to poll the Toronto Blue Jays these days. But that's an occupational hazard. I thought it was interesting Wednesday, no player offered criticism of Dave Phillips, who made the call on the ball Mosby tried to catch on the drive off Frank White's bat.
Well, he picked Ted Hendry up very decisively, very quickly.
That's all for Cliff Johnson, and Steve Farr works a 1-2-3, top of the 7th. Sundberg, Concepcion, and Smith doing the bottom half, tied at 5. With Wilbert Harrison's Kansas City anthem, I'm going to Kansas City in the background. There's Ewing Kaufman, one of the owners of the ball club, waving, along with his wife Muriel Kaufman, who's a member of the board of directors of the team, and she threw out the first ball tonight.
Mrs. Kaufman, Muriel, of course, a Toronto lady who really helped a lot emotionally, 5-5 ball game here, 7, to get a franchise for the Toronto Blue Jays.
Kansas City, here I come. They got some crazy looking women there. And of course, since we're both married, the next line doesn't apply.
It's turned out to be a nice night. The wind has quit, so perhaps rain will not blow back over this ballpark. They thought it might rain off and on the entire ball game. It quit very early. So George Brett's ball that he hit the left center field had no help. He's just become a guy who's got almost awesome power the other way.
Sundberg, little something up his sleeve.
They got Sundberg primarily for his defensive. I mean, he's had some good offensive years with Texas and did with Milwaukee last year, but they struggled so. They knew they had a young pitching staff. They wanted a good handler of a young staff, a good teacher, and a good thrower. Hadn't thrown that well this year, though.
Look where Mullenix is. Right on the line. And a big hole between short and third for Sundberg. Lamp took something off, a ball and 2 strikes. Mosby is playing rather shallow in center field. That's pretty much his style. Bell has Sundberg played deeply in left.
And as soon as Lamp went ahead, 1 ball, 2 strikes, the entire outfield shifted more toward right field, expecting Sundberg to get hit more defensively.
2-2.
Scouting reports are so important. Some of the guys who did that for the Blue Jays: Dave Yoakum, Dwayne Larson, Moose Johnson. Jerry Terrell scouted the Toronto Blue Jays.
Got him.
Still got some Dodger and Cardinal scouts following these 2 teams.
Second strikeout for Lamp.
The Blue Jays bullpen is up, so I'm certain Bobby Cox, after he got a lot of good work in game 2, that is Bill Caudle on the left, Jim Clancy on the right, so perhaps Steve will start tomorrow. With Clancy up, Bobby Cox has had him going a couple of times in this ball game, so apparently Steve will come back with 2 days rest.
44-year-old Bobby Cox in his 4th year as the Blue Jays manager. Concepcion bounces to his opposite number, shortstop Fernandez, who throws him out.
You know, when you think of the 4 managers in postseason play, you mentioned a man in one of our earlier telecasts, former Yankee, Tiger, and Red Sox manager. Bobby Cox played for Houck, says the greatest influence on his managerial career is Houck. Dick Hauser was asked to stay in baseball as a coach, became a manager. Tommy Lasorda plays with the Dodgers, or manages the Dodgers. There's Hauser. He says Houck was his biggest influence. He played for Denver, and Whitey Herzog played for Ralph Houck also. That's quite a tie, isn't it? He's been a great mentor and teacher for these guys.
Smith with 2 out and nobody on. Hits the curveball up the middle, and that's his first base hit of the series. And now Lonnie Smith, who stole 40 during the season, is aboard in a possible running situation.
Jose Martinez helping him out, excuse me.
In stereo, Jose Martinez.
Little Sir Echo. The team started clicking when Lonnie Smith came over, and they really got in full gear end of July when McRae took off.
Lonnie was a good percentage base stealer this year, caught only 7 times. He does have a tendency to get picked off. That's happened to him 5 times this year. Wilson drives him into right, but Barfield is right there for the catch. Couldn't hit it much harder. No runs, a hit, and Smith is stranded. Still tied at 5 now after 7.
The Canadian flag and that maple leaf on it, and that's one of the reasons why the most attractive kids souvenir at many ballparks, not just up in Toronto, that bird, the Blue Jay with that little red maple leaf. Kids love it. I think it's about the 2nd greatest attraction among souvenirs in almost every ballpark, next to the home park hat and logo. The Blue Jays.
Well, I guess those rumors taking Bobby Cox to Atlanta have been squelched as he moves down the runway a bit. Chuck Tanner, the new manager of the Braves, gets a long-term contract, so he wasn't out of work very long, was he? George Bell drives one through the hole for a leadoff single here in the 8th.
Far hangs a breaking ball.
The catcher, Ernie Whitt.
Bell can steal you a base, too. Bobby Cox will have to decide if he gives Bell the green light or keeps the hole open, with Balboni holding the runner. Whitt pretty much a pull hitter, try and shoot it through. Think of the speed and you think of Mosby and Garcia, but don't forget George Bell, who during the regular season stole 21, was caught 6 times. Barfield, exceptional stolen base percentage also. Runs throughout the lineup.
We're in the top of the 8th, tied at 5. There have been 5 homers hit in the game. 2 by Brett and 1 by Sundberg for Kansas City. Barfield and Mullenix have connected for Toronto.
Now with all that new, I used to be called diamond dirt, it's a moisture absorbent, 50 pounds as we indicated earlier in case of rain, put by George Tolman every dirt portion of this field, and it gets a little bit soft and it's tough to get a jump. George Bell wants to get good footing.
Got the corner for a called strike.
Whitt probably the only authentic left-handed pull hitter that the Blue Jays have. Jimmy Williams flashing signs. Will he start him to try to have a double play, or will he let Ernie pick his pitch? Bell with not a very big lead.
The 5 home runs, by the way, in this game ties a league championship series record. The Yankees and Royals did it in 1978, combining for 5. That's a ball 1-1. And in the National League, the Mets and Braves in 1969, the Pirates and Giants in 71, the Dodgers and Phillies in 78, and the Cubs and Padres in 1984, although in that game at Wrigley Field, all 5 homers were hit by the Cubs. That was game 1 last year.
In what's supposed to be a pitcher's ballpark.
Not going again, and fouled back to the screen, 1-2.
Ernie Whitt trying so hard to pull the ball, try and create a 1st and 3rd. You could see him go out on a high pitch away and try and top-hand it and hook it. May have gone out of his strike zone. There's Barfield. He's got a 2-run home run to right field in the 5th.
That's what got him started in that 5-run inning.
Bell still not getting a big lead.
It's still not going. Just off the outside corner, 2-2.
Farr thought he had it. It's a pitcher's pitch, the one that Sundberg tried to just caress into the outside corner.
There he goes, swing and a miss. The throw, got it.
Wow, he was under that tag. He was under that tag. That's going to bring trouble once again for an umpire. Vic Voltaggio with Jimmy Williams. They're going to have to keep Bell, who is very, very hot-tempered. Jimmy Williams taking care of George Bell, the Dominican.
Right fielder,
Bobby
Jimmy
Cox
Barfield.
will argue with Voltaggio. Sundberg, during the regular season, threw out just 17 of 70. He led the major leagues with 50% last year. They got him for his throwing. He hasn't provided that this year. And it sure appeared live that Bell was under the tag.
Of course, Sundberg had a sore shoulder early in the year and later torn rib cartilage, and that undoubtedly inhibited his throwing motion.
Well, Hank Bauer, who's done some scouting for the Yankees, writing a column for a local paper here, said that Sundberg, and it probably is attributable to the sore shoulder, has really been winding up, has a very long, long throw, probably to compensate for the shoulder, and he's kind of long-arming the ball or slinging it.
Well, Cox has had his say-so, and here's our look at it.
Here comes Sundberg's throw. It's way high. Bell is under it by a lot.
Unless he came off the bag.
He slid over the top and his hand caught it. We'll say it again. He just beats it. It's his foot's on it. Well, if that's what Voltaggio called, perhaps he's right, but they don't usually call it that way.
His left leg definitely bounced up off the bag, but at the same time, his left arm may have been coming in, so that may have had a piece of the bag at the moment the tag was made.
Well, then
there's
Bell
no doubt he beat
slide.
the ball. No doubt he beat the ball.
Think about it, George Bell, as good a player he is all around, one thing he doesn't do well is slide. He never has. They tried to teach him how to slide.
Barfield pops it up. The top of the 8th is history as White squeezes it. And as we head for the bottom half, the Blue Jays have to contemplate the prospect of facing George Brett first. All he's done tonight is double and homer twice.
We're going to give you another look at George Bell as Ernie Witt swings through a ball. Sundberg's throw rides high. He hits the bag. Watch Concepcion. He goes back to re-tag, and the hand is on the bag. So Voltaggio has had a couple of arguments. One from Willie Wilson and Dick Hauser early in the ball game. Hendry has had one from Mosby. He's at first base, and Voltaggio now again from George Bell. His foot's on the bag. Hands on the bag. Re-tag. Still on the bag.
Well, the question about tomorrow night's starter has been answered. There's Bell, not entirely pleased, still thinking about it. Jim Clancy has come out of the bullpen now, so that means Dave Steve definitely will start game 4. I wonder if Bobby Cox is aware of the fact that George Brett, who now receives a standing ovation, has absolutely demolished Jim Clancy in his career.
I'm sure Bobby Cox does, but especially Jim Clancy. Clancy's been on the DL twice this year, appendectomy coming out of the spring, a little arm problem. He's thrown the ball well in his start since coming back after all of August off. A hard throw, fastball throw, and George Brett commit fastballs.
Brett has hit 5 homers off Clancy in his career. About 1 every 10 at-bats against him. So you've got a red-hot hitter with a guy he likes to face. A ball and a strike.
Clancy, a hard thrower who can also sink the fastball. A good slider. Has struggled most of his major league career trying to come up with a straight change.
Ground ball. Well, he's in a slump. It's only a single. And he's 4 for 4. You know, earlier when I said that George Brett certainly has no superior and maybe no equal as a postseason player, a showcase player in all of baseball, I meant no disrespect to my friend Reggie Jackson, whose Cooperstown credentials are certainly intact. But in a moment, after we watch this replay, I'm going to give you some postseason figures for George Brett.
Hal McRae right now, Bob, if he's still having trouble with the rib cage, he may be up there bunting. Remember, Brett has already stolen a base during this postseason play, and there's 9 steals and 1 cut. I think McRae's going to be bunting, though.
He squares, he bunts. Clancy's play is to first. Go ahead, run in scoring position. That run in the person of George Brett, whose league championship series batting average lifetime is now .370, counting that last hit that made him 4 for 4. He has 8 LCS homers. That ties Garvey's major league record. His slugging percentage is approaching .800. That's a record for both major leagues. That's just in the league championship series. In his 1 World Series, he hit .375 with a homer against the Phillies in 1980. And in 9 All-Star games, he's a .304 career hitter. Frank White bounces one to short. Brett's coming over to third, and he'll make it. Fernandez throws White out.
What a good instinctive reaction by George Brett with that weight loss. And he came into spring training, the weight program, jogging 5 miles and sprinting.
Catch the latest releases from the Eurythmics and Motley Crue.
They're going to intentionally pass Sheridan to get to Balboni, who's been struggling. So Balboni, who's been somewhat of a factor thus far, on a negative side, is going to get a chance to redeem himself. He's a free swinger. Clancy, a power pitcher. So they put runners at the corners. And while this walk is being issued, there's Balboni in the on-deck circle. They've got the Royals bullpen going.
But the Blue Jay pen is, for the moment, quiet. So it's up to Clancy to get Balboni after ball 4 to Sheridan.
Really, this would have been a situation for Bill Caldwell, but Bobby Cox, there is Quisenberry on the left and Gubas on the right. Balboni steps in. Bobby Cox really hasn't put Caldwell for the biggest part of the second half of the season in tough situations like this, and he doesn't appear to be doing it tonight. Val's elbow gone, and Key scheduled to start a game. He's a little thin down there also.
In the category of understatement, Balboni is due. And Clancy has unhappy memories of him. Ball 1. Balboni is 0 for 3 tonight and just 1 hit and better than 20 postseason at-bats over the last 2 years.
And Jim Clancy, throughout his career, has had streaks of wildness. He's not pitched in relief very often.
Two and 0. Sundberg would be next. Hit softly, and it could be big trouble. It will drop. Kansas City has the lead.
Second base was left vacant. Mosby ran it in. For it to drop between Mosby and Fernandez, and also for Damaso Garcia coming on. He forgot to step on home plate, had a retouch. It wasn't pretty, but Balboni Squibbs one to center on a 2-0 pitch.
Sheridan moved over to third. Here's Sundberg. Ball 1 to him. I saw Lynn Jones with a glove in the Kansas City dugout. Maybe they'll make a defensive move involving Lonnie Smith now that they have the lead when they get to the ninth. Two and 0.
What a comeback this has been for the Royals to this point. We've still got a little bit to go, and we may see Quiz.
May see Quiz. I grant you Farr's throwing pretty well, but
he's got Gubiza down there, and Quiz wasn't his usual sharp south. He may want to come with a power pitcher. Gubiza, don't know.
3-1 to Sundberg. Concepcion on deck. Now the count is full.
It was the bullpen that plagued Bobby Cox and the Toronto Blue Jays. Again last year, this year they strengthened it considerably. Balboni, the man who fought off a sinking fastball. 2-0 from Clancy, drops it among 3 Blue Jays. Will the run stand up?
Balboni goes off first, and Sundberg drives one into right center field. Barfield goes back and hauls it in. They settle for 1. Brett opened the inning with a single. Balboni got him home with that little flare. We go to the ninth. Game 3 of the 1985 American League Championship Series is brought to you by light beer from Miller, everything you've always wanted in a beer and less. By IBM and its family of personal printers for the finishing touch. By McDonald's, it's a good time for the great taste of McDonald's. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately? Well, Tony, you were on to something. No Quisenberry. Steve Farr goes out to the mound to start the 9th inning. Maybe Quisenberry himself said it best earlier this season. He said, I used to be able to walk on water, but nowadays, sometimes I get wet.
We've also got to look at what Steve Farr has done. Since he came on in the 5th to leave the bases loaded, Blue Jays stranded. Barfield grounded out. He has retired 10 in a row. Yeah, base hit by Fernandez, infield hit past White. Got a double play and a ground out. 3 up, 3 down. He got a single, but then a strikeout, throw out. So he's got 10 consecutive retired, and that's why Dick Hauser says the man deserves to stay in, and he does.
Fernandez, who will start it here in the 9th, was the leadoff man in the bottom of the 10th with Kansas City leading by a run in Game 2. He chopped a single over the mound, and the Blue Jays went on to score twice. First pitch swinging, he hits it to Concepcion, who throws him out.
I guess it's going to be Dave Steed tomorrow against Charlie Lebrand, with Clancy having coming in the ball game.
There's the lineup. Cox and Welch, Game 3, must-win situation for the Cards, followed by Sports World with a WBC Featherweight Championship bout. And then at 8 Eastern time, we're back here for Game 4. Steve charting the pitches and getting ready for tomorrow.
So we have a 6-5 10-inning game in game number 2. Got a 6-5 game going in the 9th in game number 3. Typical of the ball games these two teams tied up in all year long.
Concepcion will have a long throw. He's got Garcia on a good stretch by Balboni.
Another argument, Billy Smith saying that Balboni's foot was off the bag, but not too vigorous of an argument. They're going to be up now for fire in this ballpark. Brett brought him back. Balboni with that little blooper to center field for the game winner. Now Farr's trying to shut him down in the 9th. started as the 10th man on the AAA ball club this year.
Ball one to Mosby. Most of the crowd out of their seats and on their feet.
Isn't that a great story? He was the 10th pitcher on their AAA ball club. He was almost on the scrap heap trying to get his career rejuvenated.
1-1. If this holds up, obviously he's the winner. Clancy will be the loser. Just when the Royals might have been hearing the Executioner's song, down 5-2 and staring at a 3-0 deficit, the kind of deficit that's never been overcome in postseason play.
You probably saw Sundberg give the sign and then indicate his left thigh with a finger. That was the location. Keep it away from Mosby if he's going to hit it. Hold him to a single. Staying away.
Two balls and two strikes. The executive producer of NBC Sports is Michael Weissman. Coordinating producer of baseball, Harry Coyle. Tonight's producer, Kenneth Edmondson. Directed by Andy Rosenberg. Pre-game produced by Les Dennis. Directed by John Libretto. Technical director, Neil Flagg.
Where do you focus the cameras if this is over? On Brett, on Farr, or Dick Hauser looking for his postseason victory?
It's popped up, and appropriately it will be Brett. Kansas City wins it. After an 0-for-11 drought, Hauser has his win.
The Royals are back in it.
The all-time foregone conclusion. Tonight's NBC Light Beer from Miller player of the game is George Brett, and Light Beer from Miller is happy to present a check for $1,000 in the name of George Brett, who lit up an October night in Kansas City. That $1,000 will go to help fight multiple sclerosis. A single, a double, a pair of homers. This was the first one in the first inning. It gave them a 1-0 lead. Then he did it with his glove. The score still 1-0. The Mosby bouncer, a great backhand stab, and from foul ground, he comes to the plate to get Garcia and preserve what was then a 1-0 lead. Now stay tuned for local news, followed by The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson and Friday Night Video. See you tomorrow night.